Alright, let's see. Well, today we're gonna figure this out. We have the general build, then we're going to get the specifics out of the way. And let me just adjust a few things. I'm going to give my best pitch for each thing, and we're going to do a tournament style. With only a couple brackets, because there's only 4 things. And then there'll be 4 more things! Alright, there we go. Let me post the link to Discord. Let me see. This. Now, of course, we have to wait until a few people show up, because otherwise there's nobody to make any votes. Hey there, Dravard. Yes, the Worst Wizard 2.0. I have notes. I have notes, and I have to read them. Okay. So, okay, yeah, there we are. Alright. I have a lot of different build designs I could do, and I've narrowed it down to 4. So, I guess I'll go over a couple that I'm not gonna do, and the reasons for it, while we wait for more people to show up. Okay. So, we need to make picks that cost 2 to properly tank our number of spellbooks. Let me see. There's only a few choices. Most things only cost a single pick. The vast majority only cost 1 pick these days. So it comes down to Warlord or Guardian. Now, I don't think anybody would expect Warlord to be a pick on Worst Wizard. Warlord is... we're not going to pick that one. So if you want to have 4 books, this is going to end up being the Retorts. And we'll talk about those in a minute. Builds that I'm not going to do. Limited entirely to commons. Well, not exactly. The books do give you a few random uncommons and so forth. But the number of books you have affects the spells you can find in layers and nodes, as well as trade options. This would make it really easy to get all the commons, because I'd be very capable of trading, and I would be able to pick up any common in any of them. And frankly, a bunch of the commons are just really good spells. So I don't think doing that is, any combination of 4 1-books is necessarily the most difficult, worst build. I think it's going to be either mono or split 2 ways, which is what I'm going with. Which does give you the ability to trade into uncommons potentially, but we'll talk more specifically. I've done the statistics on the different schools of magic a long time ago when I did that year where I played every 2-color combo. Since we're going to be a builder race, I want to avoid economic advantages. What do I mean by economic advantages? Well, life has Just Cause, which will give you more taxes in all your cities, effectively. Life has, oh shit, there's another, Heavenly Light, which not only makes it easier to hold cities when you spread out and take more territory, but just gives you magic as well. Nature has a similar spell that gives you free spell research, like economic things. Even death gives you the undead, which have no maintenance cost at all. So, that leaves sorcery and chaos don't have a lot of economic in their commons. Sorcery does get some economic stuff, though, like Magocracy and, wait, is Magocracy Warlords? Shit, I think that's Warlords. No, what did, I know they got something. It was a city enchantment that gave you gold for your Alchemist Guild, I think? Shoot, here, hold on a second. Wait a second, look around for a second here. Okay, that's... Yeah, none of the commons are economic. Hold on, we just need to look at the sorcery spells for a second. Ah, Philosopher's Stone. Yes, they have one... No, that's counter magic. No, that's not... Okay, so they have no economic effects in their uncommons either. Okay, good. Okay, we're good. We're good on that. Hey there, Enterprise. Alright, let me get caught up with chat. Let's see here. You found 3 times I said longbows were bad. Hey, there was a point in time where I thought longbows were bad. I mean, they didn't look that great. But no, I've come to respect the unit quite a bit. Yeah, when I was younger, I was expecting elves to have really good archery, and the longbow felt like it, you know, it's just an archer. But no, it's actually, even bowmen are pretty useful in this game, and having a bowman plus is pretty good. Yeah, Guardian is good. We'll talk about the retorts in a minute. Guardian is really good. If we're going to limit ourselves to just 4 spell books, it's going to look like this, but we're going to have 5 and 6 spell book builds as well. We're going to just have to vote to figure out which one we're going with. If you take Mirren, now you have 5 spell books. That is one of the builds. Well, 2 of the builds, but we're not there yet. Alright, let's see. Oh, there's no way we're doing pure blue. We're a builder race. We're going to be playing elves or humans or orcs or nomads. There's no way we're going for sorcery books with that. Alright. So, on the question of retorts. I'm pretty confident the Channeler's a pretty bad pick, generally. It's gonna focus on making your spells so much better in combat when we have very few books. It's also gonna give you a higher chance to get combat spells. So you're gonna have mostly combat spells. And that is unfortunate. Normally, you know, it's not that combat spells are bad, it's that you kind of need other things too. And when you have so few books to begin with... okay, Guardian gives you bonuses to defend your cities, and it gives you an extra 6 population. Guardian is pretty good. I don't know if it's worth 2 picks. I've always been on the fence. I feel like this one's overpriced. But it is pretty good no matter what your build is. And having a higher population means more tax money, more production, and you can expand more aggressively without losing your cities. That's what this does on a whole. It gives you it helps. It helps quite a bit. Rune Master is, you're good with using enchantments and arcane magic and better at dispelling, and you research arcane spells faster. And your spells are harder to dispel. Great. What spells? My spells are harder to dispel. What spells? I only have a few books. You do get an increased chance of globals. Globals are the best spells in the game. That's probably the best thing about this for you. Finally, there's Spellweaver. All non-summoning, non-item creation overland spells become cheaper. So, all your transmutes? Darn, we don't have nature. All of your change terrains? Darn, we don't have nature. All of your city enchantments? Oh joy. Firewall? When we start laying down the books, there's not gonna be a lot of city enchantments. Unit buffs. Well, we're gonna be a little limited in that regard too. So these are the 4 big ones. After that, we're gonna be looking at things like Mirren. That's the first pick. If we if we're willing to go to 5 books, which is a major difference. The difference between 4 and 5 spell books is actually huge. But we could take away the Guardian from Mirren, and if we want to go further than that, I honestly feel like Spellweaver would be the next one I'd take away for Artificer. I know that's a weird pick, and we'll talk more about it when we get to there. Hey, Twinfold, how you doing? Well, we'll get there. I disagree with 3 spellbooks. With one exception. I disagree with 3 spellbooks because that lets you trade the rares. If you give me 3 death books and 3 chaos books, I can potentially get my hands on some really good spells. And yeah, I'm trying to cap it at 2 spell books with only one exception. We'll get to it. We're gonna vote. We're gonna decide. But I think the builds I'm gonna line up are worse than that one. Yeah. Overturning the vote. I'm not overturning the vote. We're going with the vote, what we voted for last time, and we're narrowing it down to, we're fine tuning. It's still, what we voted for was low spell books, builder race. So we're gonna do the low spell books, and then we're gonna vote which builder race next. All right. Now, hey there, Aeon. Yeah, 4 retorts is your limit. We're trying to get the worst possible one. No, that wasn't what we ended up with. No, we didn't get pure sorcery builder race. We got low spellbook builder race. That's what we ended up with at the end of the vote. A pure sorcery builder race, that would be really good. I mean, that would be a solid build. We're trying to make the worst wizard here. If you gave me pure sorcery clacons, that wouldn't be so good. If you gave me pure sorcery gnolls, that wouldn't be so good. But you give me pure sorcery highmen, I'm a happy camper. Okay. So, first build. We're gonna start voting. I know there's not a ton of people here, but you guys are representative. Well, the wisdom of the crowd's here. All right. First build is mono red. This is the only time I go above 2 spell books. So, why this would be the worst. So, any other combination I'm going to do is going to give me access to more common spells and more ability to trade into things. This would limit me entirely to only one thing. I will get, a couple good endgame spells, and I will be able to trade anything up to very rares, but what am I going to trade? I have almost nothing to trade. Why chaos? Why not something else? Well, I thought the different schools of magic through. Chaos actually has more spells that rely on other spells, which is weird to say. It's not even... Like, what do I mean? You have a spell that makes all of your chaos creatures in battle, every non-chaos creature sucks. That's one of your big, awesome battle spells. Well, if you have chaos, like 10 books, that's easy. You can put on the global that makes all of the units you produce chaos units. You can make summons. You can summon all kinds of things. But when you've got 4 books, you might not even have chaos channels. If you roll that spell, it's going to just be a dead spell. There's a couple other spells that by themselves are almost useless if you don't have more to work with. It's rough. The only economic advantage you can give yourself in chaos is volcano fracking, which tends to be slow, expensive. Look, if you're using volcanoes, you're probably fishing for adamant. Without transmute, it's rough. You're not going to try to make a bunch of gold and give yourself economy using volcano fracking. You're just going to maybe put a volcano on each mountain or something. Tops. So, yeah. No, not good for the economy. This is my first pick. And this pick is up against a build that looks almost identical, but we swap it out for 2 sorcery. This build is the worst build because, well, we already know Chaos Sorcery wasn't a great combination. We're cutting off any hope of getting any rare or very rare spells. We're just cutting all the endgame spells off, and you get some low-level sorcery in exchange. Low-level sorcery spells, there's some winners in there, definitely. Things like Focus Magic can be pretty good when you get to your magicians, depending on what you pick, what kind of magicians you have, whether they're 6 or 4 figure or extra to hits or whatever. Anyway, so first off, vote on which one of these is worse, and then we'll get to the other 2 builds. And we'll just kind of do a tournament bracket thing till there's only 1 build left. Lagging? Sorry. Oh yeah, Death has a lot of... No, we will do Genshin later. This is before Genshin. We're just taking care of this first. Rune Master is too powerful, you say. I don't think so. I think Rune Master, when you don't have enough spell books, I think Rune Master's kind of garbage. I think it's pretty bad. Because the best things about Rune Master, like being resistant to having your spells disenchanted, is great for buff stacking, but you can't really do that with so few books. Yeah, you are better at dispelling, which is nice, but the best thing you're going to get is you're going to find some globals. But how many globals are you going to get when you've only got 4 spell books? Not many! So, it's pretty bad. 2 chaos, and at the very end, we'll do a 2 chaos. Honestly, it's just bad. Death is good. Death books are going to give you better things than the sorcery books. I know that most of you think of sorcery as being the best school of magic, but that's because sorcery is filled with things like Time Stop, we won't be getting the good stuff. Um, if I manage to get my hands on ghouls, I can potentially go into lairs and nodes and make a bunch of very strong creatures undead through the use of stuff like ghouls, zombies, and the stuff. Potentially, you can work this. You've also got access to things like Black Sleep, tax skeletons for economy. Like, there's definitely some stuff to work with in there. I honestly think that death... We'll put it at the very end. We'll take the winner and pit it against that. But I honestly think that death is better than chaos or sorcery when you've only got 2 books in it. I think that death has been so improved by Cerevi. Particularly early game death. You could even luck into shadow demons. Not that you'd be in the best position to be a summoner, but you could work it. Yeah. As I said, we'll put that at the end. The vote is only, at the moment, these 2. 2 at a time. Oops, not that. No, nature has... nature's pretty good. I mean, every school of magic is good, so it's always going to be some opinion. All sorcery bestie are very rare. Okay, we've got 1 vote for red-blue that I'm seeing. Because charismatic only takes 1 pick. Because if we pick charismatic, we have an extra spellbook. That's why. We're doing the 4 spellbook ones, and then we're going to do other things in a minute. As long as you don't get Dispelling Wave. Dispelling Wave with Rune Master? Pretty good. If your opponents are using a lot of enchantments. So that's not a bad thing. That would let your Rune Master do some work. Yeah, sorcery has all those things, but death also has a whole bunch of things. Hey, hold on a second. You've got zombies, skeletons, black sleep, weakness, ghouls, darkness. All of those are really good. Wraith form situationally can be very good situationally. And then down here you've got Black Prayer, which is just a staple of death builds. Shadow Demons. Wall of Darkness is basically Guardian Wind for your entire city. Possession situationally, especially if you're with Black Prayer, is really good. Even Reaper Slash is good. Like this is some pretty good stuff. So, sorcery, I mean, sorcery's got some great stuff, but you've also got a lot of, you know, Sonic Blast when you're running Chaos already. Aether Sparks when you've already got Chaos. I'm not a fan of Nagas, to be honest. I do like Floating Island. I do like Focus Magic. I do like Phantom Warriors, although Phantom Warriors are Firebolt. They're practically the same thing, practically. I know they're completely different, but effectively in combat you use them the same way. This is just a burn spell. Resist Magic can be good, but that comes to the question of which race we're playing. It really does depend on what you're playing. Guardian Wind. Look, Guardian Wind is great, but it's not great at the same time. I'm coming to battle with 9 units. I can Guardian Wind 1 of them. Shit. They're just going to shoot the other units that aren't Guardian Winded. Alright, I'll cast it a whole bunch of times out of battle. I can't afford that. I can't afford to put that on every unit. The hero units. You can put it on your hero units. Well, we're not going to do that great with our hero units. Probably, maybe. It depends. So, yeah. Alright, where were we? Alright, let's see how the vote turned out. So we got one for here. Okay. Okay, so I saw a red-blue. I saw two red-blue. We've got one all red. Oh, wait. Yeah, now remember, you don't necessarily get all the spells that are in the uncommons. You just have the possibility of getting them. We're actually not going to be able to guarantee a single uncommon. You could trade into uncommons, but you're not going to get very many. It's actually really, really, like, you're going to be able to get the commons probably in both. Alright, so we've got one for red, two for red-blue. I think we're going to call it here and just say red-blue. Okay. Alright, so it's going to be red-blue versus whoever wins this round. Where's my pen? Alright, I'm going to draw a line through mono red. Alright, now I'm going to explain why these are the worst builds. Next up, we're going to take Guardian away. I think Guardian is too good. No, it would be worse if we went like this. Yes, this would be the worst build. For you see, all the things I already said, but now it's more difficult for you to take towns, or to hold territory, and you're going to have less taxes because your population doesn't grow as quickly. And you're stuck on the Mirren plane where everything is harder. In exchange, you got a death book. Now, I'll admit, this is a huge difference. Getting that death book is a big deal. Now that you've got 3 schools of magic, you are way more likely to be able to successfully trade spells in commons. And you're going to be able to trade for death commons. But you're not going to start with something like ghouls or even zombies. You have no starting death spells. You're going to have to research everything that you can find at random. And I would say that, you know, making my best argument here, I think that a death book is still not as good as all of this, personally. So, this one versus, you know what the worst build really is, though? What if we made it even worse? Okay, so this is the most difficult one. I think that Spellweaver being a 33% boost to your ability to cast certain things is pretty good. I mean, you could argue any of these. This is a lot to choose here at this point. It gets difficult. I think Artificer I think this is the worst. Because it's hard to argue, it really is. You could easily argue that no, it should be this, or no, it should be, you know, something else. There's a few different things we could pick. Specialist is kind of funny, because you'd end up with, Specialist. You research spells a little faster in one school, and it's a little harder to dispel the spells of that particular school. Anyway, like, it's difficult for me to put my finger on exactly what the worst thing is here. Artificer, you won't have the good enchantments for your artifacts. and you're going to have a very hard time keeping your heroes alive and doing a hero build when you're missing any of the tools like invisibility, flight, resurrection. All the good stuff for that is missing. It is a hard choice. I'm gonna say specialist is the worst because when are you doing taking specialists like this? All right. Nature's really good. I admit it. Nature is really good in the commons. You have web. You have a city enchantment that gives you extra research and all that. You are definitely going to be able to trade with other wizards and get a lot of commons. That's the biggest argument against charismatic, is this makes it easier to do spell trading because people won't be you're able to be friendlier. But again, you're not guaranteed any nature spell. It's going to be total RNG. And being able to cut off a 33% bonus to certain things, like you're no longer going to be able to Flame Blade 30% more. You're no longer going to be able to, any city enchantment or anything you manage to happen upon is going to be at full price now. And in exchange, you got a nature book. So those are the two that are up this time. We'll call it with or without nature. That's the easiest way to say it. If you say with nature, you're going this one. If you say without nature, you're going this one. And then we'll do the winner of that against the winner of the previous round. All right, let's see. Yeah, I thought about it. Again, it's really tough. This is really tough. I don't entirely disagree with the 2 chaos, 1 sorcery, 1 from another realm. The problem is that it just makes it so much easier to trade. When you're limited to 1 or 2 schools, it's really hard to trade into a lot of the commons, because you just don't have a lot to work with. Every time you add a new school of magic, you dramatically increase the number of potential trade partners. And that's huge. No, Guardian does not have anything to help you with Unrest. No advantage on Unrest. It can be crippling. It depends on what you've got. It depends on what you're playing as, but yes, it can be crippling. It only affects your starting race, so it's not like you're gonna. It's not like the extra population is gonna affect the other things you conquer. So it's not quite as big a deal as it could be, the Unrest thing. No, Guardian. Yeah, Guardian buffs up only your starting thing. Yeah, that's right. Guardian Artificer is bad. Yeah, it's, you could make the argument. I'm perfectly, either way it's bad. I think I picked Death as the worst pick, but Nature, you could definitely make the argument for it. I personally might overvalue spells like Web. Nature Commons are really good. Nature Commons, Nature's Eyes, the one I kept referring to, Web, Sprites. If you start with Sprites, you can get a whole bunch of lairs and nodes for free, maybe even a city. Earthlore is shockingly useful for 10 mana, scouting out lairs and nodes. Water Walking can be a game changer. Depends on the map. Resist Elements? Honestly, I prefer Resist Elements to Resist Magic generally. Earth to Mud, most of the time does nothing, but sometimes it it wins battles by itself sometimes. It's a big deal. Like, nature's got really good commons. Death's got some great commons too, though. Starting the game with ghouls is really good. Skeletons, zombies, black sleep, all of those are good. We already talked about it earlier. Alright, let's see. What build gives too much research? What, the specialist one? I mean, it only gives a research bonus to, like, chaos. But yeah, it does give a research bonus. Okay, we got one vote for... Yeah, okay, we got one vote for without nature, 2 votes for without nature. I don't know. I think the life commons are too good. None of my builds suggested a life book because I looked at the life commons and they're just too good. So what you're looking at is Just Cause removes unrest from all your cities. That's extra taxes basically everywhere. Heavenly Light, another economy boost. It makes it easier to hold cities. Especially if you've got it in combination with Guardian, but even by itself. And it just generates power constantly for you, free power. Then you've got the unit buffs, which Spellweaver makes your unit buffs better, makes them cheaper, and they're harder to dispel because of Rune Master. So you've got Heroism, Holy Armor, Holy Weapon, Bless, all of these are Discipline. Like, that's 5 different enchantments when you've got Rune Master and Spellweaver. But even healing is good. Even healing is good. The only thing that's a bad one here is Starfire. Like, you've already got Chaos. You're not going to care about this one. Every other spell here is good. So I think the life commons are just too strong. Life commons too strong. Alright, let me see. Well, that's not a choice though. I mean, I can understand the argument and I thought about it. I really want to avoid giving you the ability to get the rare spells. You can definitely make the argument that it would be better to have a 3rd Chaos than a Death Book. Look, I'm sorry, I know it's a bit arbitrary, but I can't put every single possibility up for vote. Every single combination. I narrowed it down to 4. I don't know. You could definitely argue that the Chaos book is worse than the Death book. I went with the Death book, limiting you more to commons. You're going to be a builder race, and your late game is going to suck, because you're just not going to have the tools. So anyway, we've got 2 for no nature. The only way you can do that, Aeon, would be if you replaced Guardian with Warlord. I think Warlord is too good. I think Warlord is better than Guardian. I think Guardian is overpriced. At 2 picks, I think Guardian is more expensive than it should be. Warlord is just good. I consider Web to be the best spell in the game. The best combat trick. Really, we got 2 votes for not having the Death Book. Alright, we will do one more variant. I think everyone agrees no green. Alright, no green. So, do you think it's better like this or like this? We'll just do a quick runoff vote. Is it better to have a Death Book or have no death book? Oh yeah, I forgot about Guardian Spirit. Guardian Spirit's actually... It's good. It's economy. It's economy. As long as you're able to take nodes, you might not be able to take and hold nodes. With, you might not have the tools. But if every node you do have will produce more, so there's, it's still good. But if I had sprites, oh, it would be much better then. Yes, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's what I wrestled with so much. Everything is RNG. Everything is RNG. When you have all the spell books, there's no RNG. But the less spell books you have, we will end up with some end game spells. We could end up with, I don't know, Armageddon. You really don't know what you're going to end up with. But you could end up with Great Drakes. It's going to be total RNG at the high end. So you're just going to get whatever you're going to get. The third spellbook gives you the theoretical ability to trade into Hadriex. Gives you... Hold on a second. Alright, I'm going to have to put a bunch of books in. Theoretically, you could trade into Blazing March, Firestorm, Doombolt, Ifrit, Doom Mastery. That's Chaos Channels on everything. I don't care about the Rift. Warp Lightning's okay. It's kind of unnecessary when you've got Lightning Bolt, but it's a cool spell. Some of these aren't great. Flame Strike. Inner Power. I don't think you can really... You're not going to have enough spells to necessarily really work that one. But Ifrit, Doombolt, Blazing March, Firestorm, Doom Mastery, like the rares are going to give you some good stuff. Chaos doesn't have the best rares, but it's got pretty good rares. Yeah. Oh, definitely third red. Sorcery. Sorcery gets really good in the rares and very rares. Like, Sorcery's endgame is the strongest endgame. So we definitely don't want to go above 2 books. We're leaning on the fact that Sorcery's early game is kind of weak. Because their endgame is ridiculous. So... we could randomly get a spell like Invisibility, or theoretically we could even roll a time stop on 2 books, but it's very unlikely. Like, vanishingly unlikely. But you don't want to give them any more. That's true. Less enchantments, less summoning. Yeah. Oh, catch you later, wings. Anyway, you guys got to pick which is worse, death or no death. Quick, death or no death. Then we're going to move on to the final bracket. Okay, death. 1 death. Retorts are stronger than books. We've, in general, but we've really crippled the number of books you're gonna get. We've really crippled your book count. Okay. One death, 1 no death. It's a tie. No death. Oh, okay. 2 no deaths. Does Sup want to toss a vote in? I think he proposed this in the first place. Well, okay. 3 for it. Alright, so now we come to the final thing, and then there'll be one more runoff. Alright, so we've got this one. Alright. Or this one. Yeah, basically, Guardian or Mirren. It's an entire spell book up for grabs on this. Guardian or Mirren. So just, yeah. Vote! I've said everything about all the builds, and then we'll have the one last one from Twinfold that'll go up against the champion. The underdog build. We're gonna have to talk about high men, elves, orcs, and nomads, and make my best argument why each of them is the worst. I mean, everybody knows which one I think is the worst, but I'll give them each their sales pitch. Oh, that's very decisive. All right. All right, let's do the last one is Twinfold suggestion. Twinfold says, no, not sorcery at all, but death. So, we'll just ask. Sorcery or death? You know, they're both bad builds. Either way, it's hard. As I said, Sonic Blast, Phantom Warriors, you've got a lot of overlap with Chaos, weirdly. Yeah, it's a lot. Ugh. Okay, 1 vote for death. Let me make a few notes here on what we ended up with. So... Channeler, Runemaster, Spellweaver, okay, red. Now it comes down to Runemaster. I've gone over this like 3 times. It's complicated. It's complicated. You're better at dispelling. You research arcane spells faster. Your spells are harder to dispel. And you're more likely to get global enchantments. Runemaster only makes sense to me if you're buff stacking. Runemaster is really good if you're buff stacking, because then it's like, alright, I'm going to put all of these spells on my units, and they're hard to dispel. They're hard to get rid of. But we don't have that. We don't have a whole lot of enchant creatures. Runemaster could also be useful if you like city curses, if you're in death and like to cast spells like Plague and Famine. It's harder for the enemy to get rid of them. There are other values to Runemaster, but personally, I think buff stacking is really strong. And Dispelling Wave is kryptonite. If you're in a buff stacking build and you find yourself at war with a sorcerer, your entire build can just be wiped away. Like, incredible amounts of time and effort can just vanish in an instant. So, that's where this comes in handy. Alright. Alright, we're gonna move on to the we're gonna move on to the final phase. Okay, let me write down 2 sorcery. Alright, we have the build. It's pretty bad. Now we're gonna put an Arcanist race on the Mirren plane. Alright, who are we sending to the moon? Oh, right. I have like a couple spells to pick. Might as well pick those now. I'm gonna say Aether Sparks. Is there anyone who wants to disagree with Aether Sparks? It's a low-powered magic attack that steals half the enemy's ammo or mana. Is there anyone who wants to argue there's something worse here? I'll let you guys think about that. As for Chaos, well, I'm gonna go with Animate Ammo. So you've got Aether Sparks and you've got isn't it weird how Sorcery and Chaos have overlapping effects? Yes, that's 2 different things that steal enemy ammo, and Disrupt doesn't exist anymore. This spell is gone. It's Breakthrough. This just happens to be an old version of Master of Magic that wasn't updated, but this spell is replaced, and Breakthrough is probably going to be good. I'm gonna say Corruption. Yeah. Somebody can argue that something here is worse than this. Shatter, I don't use Shatter very often, but I mean, it reduces the enemy's attack strength to 1. But it only works on normal units. I mean, it might let me get my hands on an early neutral city. Probably not. Probably not. Shatter's pretty bad. You could argue Shatter over Animate Ammo, I think. Really? Breakthrough looks pretty good to me. Breakthrough gives all of your units an attack bonus. And Breakthrough was specifically created to make Sorcery Chaos stronger. Like, Breakthrough was literally written for this combination of books. That's why Seraphie wrote it. It's especially powerful on Phantom Warriors, is the idea. If you happen to get Phantom Warriors, which is a big if. Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of people say Shatter. I could go with either one, honestly. Really? 2 people think I should think Corruption is good? 2 people think Corruption is too good a spell? I should have Shatter. Interesting. I thought Corruption is, I mean, 40 mana to corrupt a tile? I mean, I don't know. I would spend my mana to corrupt somebody else's tile, and then I conquer the city, and now I have the corrupted tile to fix. Yeah, we'll go with this. I think this is pretty bad. I'll take a note. Aether Sparks. Nobody disagreed with Aether Sparks. We're all in agreement. That one's just bad. We'll go Corruption. We'll go Shatter. Yeah, Animate Ammo could maybe be good. Maybe. But Corruption and Shatter, it's really hard to imagine Shatter being... Like, it does reduce your attack to 1. It's pretty good when it works. Alright. Now we have the real argument. Why not? The worsty. Okay. I'm gonna do my best to argue all these positions, even though I disagree with a couple of them myself. Alright. Why would high elves be the worst? Well, let me tell you. Alright. So, they grow very slowly. You're going to have a very slow population growth, which means you're going to have an even slower early game. They're missing out on Colosseums, which is, you know, some unrest removal. But they also are missing, aren't they missing Parthenons and cathedrals as well? They're missing a lot of things that reduce unrest. So you're gonna have, you're just gonna be missing them. That's the best argument I can make with elves. Yeah. Their end game is gonna be Pegasus, magicians, and elven lords. I rarely use elven lords myself. The Pegasus I do like. The unrest rates for conquering other cities aren't very good. You've got a lot of +3s and +4s in there. A lot of people don't like being ruled by the elves. It's probably because the elves insist on doing the wild hunt. Going into the city. Well, we're not going to speculate too much on why people don't like them. Alright. Next up, I'm going to argue the worst is high men. And then you're going to vote. The high men have similarly high unrest rates, though honestly I don't think it's quite as bad as the elves. They have this magic resistance penalty to most of their units. They don't have any flying unit. Okay, look, somebody on Realms Beyond was genuinely arguing that high men were the worst pick. I have to admit, I have a really hard time with this. They have faster production on their buildings. And then they get 6-figure magicians and paladins. I mean, jeez, I mean, come on. Okay, but they do get the high, either way there's a high unrest on the enemies. These have a slower population growth, they don't have the building thing, but they have longbowmen to help them in the early game and a 10% to hit. So, these guys will have a much worse early game because high men, well, what can I say? Their swordsmen and their cavalry just kind of suck compared to everybody else's. Until you get to those late game buildings, you're going to have a much harder time conquering and doing things. Ugh. So, elf or man. Then we'll go with the other two, and then we'll do a, you know, tournament bracket thing. Elf or man? Vote! No, Floating Island is really good. Floating Island is really, really good. Again, it's map dependent. You could find yourself on an island, or you could find yourself on a continent that's, you know, there's a narrow gap leading to more territory you really want. The Floating Island is honestly better than water walking, better than Wraith Form. It's the best logistical common in the game. unless you're playing on Pangea. If you're playing on a Pangea map, then it's a dead spell. But we're not going to be playing on a Pangea. We're going to be playing on just a default, basically. And Floating Island is basically instant bridge. That's also capable of moving troops. Alright. Elf, elf, elf. Okay. Elves are bad. Got it. Alright, now we're going to do the other side. This one's a little more complicated. This one's actually really complicated. So nomads get a gold bonus. They get a resistance bonus. All of their units are equipped with bows. Well, not all, but their spearmen, their swordsmen, their cavalry, they get bows. Lots of bows. So they're going to have an easy time holding their early territory. So long as they're not attacked by something like a demon with missile immunity. They get along with everybody. So they're better at conquering other people. The only exceptions being Clacons and High Men. All of those are in their favor. But they can't build granaries or farmers' markets, meaning they have a lower population growth than even the elves. On top of that, they don't get a bunch of food from the granaries and farmers' markets. This means that they have less workers. They are literally going to be the slowest of all the factions because of it. Yeah, I've kind of run... Wait, I can also say this. I think their endgame units are substandard. Look, when you're talking about things like paladins and pegasi, the nomads are going, oh, we got griffins. Yeah, those are okay. We got rangers. Those are okay. Yeah, a unit of rangers is okay, but it's no Pegasus. Yeah. Okay, now I've run out of things I can say against the nomads. We gotta go to the orcs. Alright. Orcs are unpopular. They're very unpopular. Not quite as bad as the elves. But, I mean, look at this. That's quite a bit of unrest for quite a few factions. They have no specific advantages or disadvantages worth mentioning. They can just build every building. Their units are cheaper than normal, is their real advantage. And this is why it gets complicated. I actually really like orcs. I've tried to play them more than I might have tried to play them more often than any other race. And they tend to underperform in my attempts. They have shaman and bowmen with a maintenance cost of 0. Well, they still eat food, okay? They're not skeletons, but still. That reduced maintenance cost is just money in the bank every turn. You're able to make... Basically, that's the whole thing. Their units cost less gold to maintain. And that is a significant advantage. But their units kind of suck, especially early game. Their swordsmen and spearmen and cavalry have nothing special about them. They just don't have anything going for them until they get farther into the game. Until they've built up. So... nomads, slow population growth, less workers, lots and lots of arrows. Orcs, lower maintenance costs. Lower maintenance costs are good. Take your pick. I have made the case as best I can. Alright, we gotta vote for orc. No, none of these are aggro races. These are all builder races. Nomad, nomad. Oh, really? Orc. Yeah. The biggest strike I see against the nomads being the worst is that they get their unrest is yeah, they get along with people they conquer. So we got a tie. Orc, orc, nomad, nomad. Oh no. Is there anybody left who can vote? Is that everybody? I think that's everybody. Oh shit. I may have to settle this with a coin toss, which would be unfortunate. But there's just nobody else here. Alright, well, we'll give one more attempt to see if anyone wants to change their vote before I flip a coin. Nomads get a trade bonus, but they have to build roads to do that. Still, that is extra money. Yeah, the no granary farmers market thing is a huge penalty. They do get that resistance bonus. Could come into play, depending. You know, a little bit harder to kill with poison. All your basic units getting bows will make it easier to take early cities and hold them. So a little bit easier to, you know, wander your cities around, take more cities, be nomads. The orcs, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can say about them. They just they're the, for some reason, they're the generic race. I wonder if they were even supposed to be orcs originally, if they were originally like you had high men and these would have just been regular men or something, and they decided at the last minute, wait, we don't have orcs? Well, we have to have orcs. Nomads have no engine. Yes, that bothered me a lot, actually. I do not understand why there's so many factions incapable of building a road. Especially the people who need a road to get their own bonus. How do they not have the ability to make a road? Alright, and nobody changed their vote? Alright, I'm gonna flip the coin. Alright, heads nomads, tails orcs. Ready? For chaos sorcery. Hold on, is there anything I can... Not really. There's not really anything I can say about this. Like, oh good, we'll probably have Flame Blade. Well, that works for anybody. Alright. I got heads. Heads is nomads. Alright, I don't play nomads very often. Interesting. Now it's the nomads versus the elves. For the finale. Alright. Slow growth rate. Slower growth rate. Bonus to hit. Everybody has bows. Oh, we've got long bows. We've got horse bows. They have way more unrest. When I conquer other things, the other things are unhappy. Nomads get along with people better. Who is HA? It's definitely HA. Who is HA? I'm actually not sure who this is. Huh. They've got somebody that's at a +0. Well, halflings. That's who it is. That's who it is. It's halflings. Okay, well, halflings. I mean, halflings don't care who rules them. They get along with everybody. I don't even see halflings listed under the elves. Alright, we got elf. No, this isn't the Warlord mod. We're going to be playing the base game. Well, Wings of Memory made a purely graphical mod that we will be doing. We're going to have the portraits and other things changed out. It'll be kind of like the old days. So, we do have a mod, but it won't change the gameplay any. It'll be purely cosmetic. Alright, we got one vote for Elf. I'll give you guys as much time as you like, because this is the last vote. All I have after this is Genshin today. I do think it's going to be way easier in the future when I do the biggest world size worst wizard. It's probably going to be really easy to pick the worst build. It's probably going to be super easy compared to this. I don't know, you'll have to ask him. I'm not supposed to spoil myself on what all's in the mod. I still have to apply the mod. I'll think to figure out tonight. You know, nobody has made a fusion mod where you mix the races up. Like you play men and elf and you just have both. You're playing high men that have longbowmen and Pegasi. The halfling gnolls. No, halfling barbarians. We've got a couple really great modders, but we need more modders to do wacky stuff. Personally, I think the nomadic trolls would be fun. A whole bunch of trolls riding horses with bows. Alright, we've got a nomad, we've got an elf. I forget if nomads... I know nomads can't possibly make cathedrals. I'm not quite... I think they can build Parthenons, though. Which offsets... That's equivalent to like 8 elves in power production. I'm pretty sure nomads had Parthenons. But you could potentially get a population of 25 or more. Although without nature, that's hard. Elves are really good if you've got nature magic, because you're able to make that population... You're able to offset the population growth penalties and get the population really high. But we don't have nature. Again, this doesn't particularly favor either of them. It's like, I could flame blade a longbowman, but I could just as easily flame blade a horsebowman. I would describe it as the nomads have a better early game, the elf has a better late game. That's how I would explain the difference, the biggest difference between the two. Yeah, yeah, white-green high elves are pretty good. I've played that before. That's a good combination. I don't know. Wood elf is what I think of when I think of an elf. Um, the high elves tend to live in spires and be, they have their big spectacular cities and stuff. Wood elves are Wood elves just feel more elven to me. They live in the trees, they hunt, they're closer to nature basically. They're wilder. It's hard to imagine the high elves ever doing something crazy like the wild hunt. But the wood elves, oh, they might decide to hunt humans for sport. They might very well be closer to the Fae, to the Seelie and Unseelie courts. They're certainly going to be better at archery and stealth. My default elf when I think of an elf is a wood elf. Well, we have one vote for Nomad, one vote for High Elf. Please don't make it come down to another coin toss. Nobody ever talks about the Grey Elves. The Grey Elves, I've never played one, but I've meant to. They're the only way you get a +2 int by default, so they make the best wizards. No other race you can pick in D&D would give you that intelligence bonus. Well, at least not in 3rd edition. Unless you want to bring out the Savage Species rules. Then you can play anything! Savage Species is just like, what's that? An air elemental? Yeah, sure, you can play that. A Zorn? Okay, sure, here you go. Literally anything. Here's how you do your level ups. You're all good to go. Savage Species is cool. Never got to play that one either. But a Savage Species campaign would be great. It also lets you, as the DM, make any monster into any level you want. Which is, pretty handy. I think I want a young Minotaur that's a little bit smaller. I think I want a really big Minotaur now. Alright, let me see. So there's that 2 votes for Nomads? Hold on, I think we... Alright, let me see. Alright. Elf? Okay. Nomad. Okay, we're done. Nomads it is. Okay. Interesting. I never really play Nomads. We can take a quick look at this. Everything defaulted. We're not going to actually play it, but we can take a quick check. Let me make one more note. Nomads. Alright. Starting off with some bows. We can still get a Forester's Guild. That's a little bit of food. What I want to know is, we get a shrine? A cathedral? Really? From Nomads? Okay, we do not get the Parthenon, we get a cathedral. That's 6 power. Okay. Theoretically more if we lucked into Nightshade, but that never happens. Alright. Alright. Our early game units. The pikemen actually don't have a bow. Probably won't use pikemen. Probably we'd want horse bowmen. These can be pretty good. They've got fast movement and ranged attacks. Their upkeep is low. You can definitely take some territory with these guys. I usually avoid light cavalry. I'm not a big fan of cavalry units in Master of Magic, but these guys are the one exception. They're like the one good cavalry unit in the vanilla game. So, oh, we also get we get the Parthenon and the Cathedral. All right, that's not too bad. I usually think of these as an either or, but sometimes somebody can get both of them. All right. Priests. No, unfortunately, they don't get shaman, which is a shame. But priests are workable, I guess. Honestly, they might be less valuable for nomads than other races, because we've already got a lot of ranged attacks. But you always need somebody that can uncorrupt a tile and do healing. So, you know, there's still an important tool. Without whatchamacallit, Tree of Knowledge, I can't see their end game, but I mean, we already know what they're gonna have. Is there anything else I can get before the Tree of Knowledge? They have catapults. I never think about nomad catapults, but hey, it's a unit that doesn't eat food, so you can make it. It's not the worst thing you could make. Sadly, this is probably the worst magician of any of the... Like, I think every other magician had something going for it. The High Elven magician would have had an accuracy bonus. The High Men would have had 2 figures. The Orcs would have had a lower upkeep. No, you just have the worst magician. Well, okay, fine. It's still a magician. I'll still make it work. I'll still use it. Oh, do they miss out on the Animus Guild? Ah, okay. That's probably why they were given the Parthenon then. Because, yeah, the Animus Guild. Yeah, that is a loss. Oh no, they do not have a trade bonus at the start, do they? Oh, they have a 15% bonus. Okay, I guess they do. Interesting. Oh, that's the river, isn't it? Oh, I'm not gonna try. My gosh. What we just went through, we voted for 6 different builds, and then 4 different races. You'd be looking at 6 times 4. I don't want to play 24 games to determine which one was really the worst. That's too many. Yeah. Since it came to a coin toss between nomads and orcs, we might maybe do orcs. We might maybe do an orc run of the same thing later. But after we've done this, we'll probably switch over to doing one with the biggest world size possible. I really think that it's not going to be as hard to determine the worst build when you're on the biggest world. It's probably going to be sorcery clack-ons with a ton of retorts. Maybe sorcery chaos clack-ons. Like, on the biggest world size with the maximum number of opponents, it's gonna be clack-ons. There's no way it could be anything else. Anyway, I'm going to skedaddle now. I'm going to go do some streaming on Twitch. I'm probably going to take 10 minutes of downtime before I do that. And, boy, yeah, this is some old files here. Alright. Anyway, until next time, and every time. Man, look at how many spell books some of my runs have had. Look at that, man. So that there, now that's a build. Specialist, Archmage, Conjurer. Ooh. Yeah. This is gonna be a rough run, man. 5 spell books. This is gonna be a rough run. Alright. Until next time, and every time, this is Hadriex, signing off. Bye. How is my ears and throat? Both ears are finally clear. I feel a little bit off. A little bit, but I'm like 90% better now. It's nice to not be sick. Mostly not sick. That, whatever I had, that was terrible. Anyway. Bye.